Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins,
And I'm Paul Hankins.
and welcome to On the Air with Power Squared, a weekly look behind the scenes, what we hope will be everyone's favorite comic book, Power Squared. This week we're shining the light on another comic book, which we can see here. And we have the creator of that, Lucas Scheffel, with us. Hello?
Hey guys, how you going?
All the way from down under.
Yeah,
So you say you're in Brisbane?
I am. I'm outside of Brisbane, about an hour out of Brisbane. I actually live on, strangely enough, I live on an island called Bribie Island. It's a small sort of community. There's a bridge that connects to the mainland, so we can get on and off sort of thing. And there's a lot of older community that live here. A lot of sort of grey nomads, as they're called, come here to retire and just like live their days out and stuff. But there's a younger community as well. But I'm just living here with my family on the beach and just hanging out and enjoying the sun.
Living on the beach, that's really.
Yeah,
I feel
yeah,
sorry
it's
for you.
nice. It's been... Sorry.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm an Australian comic book creator. I've been sort of doing this for about over a year now. My background is in filmmaking. So yeah, I sort of graduated from university wanting to be a cinematographer, and here in Australia, I've worked on a bunch of feature and short films and so forth, and sort of made my way through that on the independent level. Then I've sort of moved my focus into video editing. I'm a full-time video editor at the moment. But I've always had a love of comics. I've collected comics since I was 12 years old. And I've always wanted to create my own comic, and I love to draw and stuff, but I'm just not at a level where I think I could sort of get sequential art down pat over panel pages and so forth. And I didn't know about this whole independent comic scene where you can kickstart comics and create comics, teaming up with artists and letterers and so forth. And it was sort of through a friend, Duncan Cunningham. He's an Aussie comic creator down here. He made the transition from film to comic books like probably 8 or 10 years ago when we were making films together. And he sort of inspired me. I sort of followed his journey and decided to take the plunge about a year ago and create my first comic book. So yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so it is called Angry Squad, right?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
And so tell us about Angry Fred.
Angry Fred. Okay, so Angry Fred is an interesting character. He's actually based on my late dad. My dad passed away about a year ago, and prior to that, my dad was started some of the films I made along the way as a filmmaker. And he always played this character that didn't really say much. He was kind of a gangster type guy, always wore dark glasses, that sort of thing, smoked big cigars. So a lot of my films were centered around that sort of stuff. And he started a lot of these films playing very similar characters. And there was one time he wore, as you see in the Angry Fred cover, he's in the red jacket and stuff.
Right.
And over time, that character just sort of, sat with me. And then about a year ago, I was like, I really want to get into this comic space. And my dad was getting a lot older, and he obviously wasn't, able to star in any of my films and stuff. He was in a home and so forth. And I thought, I'm gonna try and keep this creative legacy we've created together, and put it onto the comic book pages. And I decided to create Angry Fred, who was this grumpy old sort of go-to guy who was like, had a past as an ex-soldier who did these secret missions, and was sort of like a gangster type guy at one point, but now he's just this grumpy old guy who's just had enough, and he's got this sort of superpower where his fists will get quite large and he's got superhuman strength, but he just wants to check out, but obviously the powers to be and all the other people around him, his acquaintances and so forth, don't want him to be. So so it's sort of how the Angry Squad was born. And the characters in the Angry Squad that you read in the comic book, not only Angry Fred was obviously based on my dad, but all the other characters that are in there come from all the films that I made as well. So they're directly derived from that as well. So yeah, so Angry Squad, it's an action adventure superhero story featuring Angry Fred and his team of trigger happy counterparts. And this first issue, basically, after an acquaintance holds Angry Fred's secrets at ransom, his next mission is simple: is to bring down a King Kong-sized gorilla and face his inner demons. So we get to delve into his past, and he takes on a big-ass monkey. So there you go. So. A lot of fun. I've like growing up as a kid, I've been into a lot of action adventure, films like Indiana Jones, a lot of James Bond stuff, things that are like high concept, high adventure. And I thought I'd like to throw this, onto a page of a comic book. So yeah, that's what it's about.
So you did the writing of this?
I did. I wrote the story. So yeah, I worked with 2 other artists on this one. Nikita Vasilchuk, I worked with. He did predominantly all the artwork in the story.
Right.
So yeah, I'm pretty descriptive when I write. I like to write. I'm pretty too descriptive, actually. I probably should calm down when I write. But I write, my pages down very descriptively, and to the point where it's like, I want, a guy in the background who's wearing a green shirt and stuff. And then like the artist, Nikita, will come back to me and go, you don't need to mention the guy in the background, it's just one of those superfluous things, But yeah, I wrote it. Nikita collaborated with me and obviously did all the artwork. And I've worked with a letterer here in Australia called SK, and he did all the lettering in the book, and the variant cover artwork is by a guy named Martin Passot, who in that version you've got there has done the variant cover artwork. So he's pretty rad as well. So yeah, it's been a good collaborative process with the artists and so forth, and it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
So is Nikita still in the Ukraine?
He is, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
yeah.
How did you get together?
How do I get? Yeah, this is an interesting story. This isn't the first time we've done anything together. The comic book thing wasn't even on our radar when we first met. I contracted Nikita out ages ago for some film work I was doing. I was trying to develop a feature film script that I wanted to shoot here in Australia about a big a redback spider that sort of torments a woman in this story, sort of horror film.
Okay.
Some
romance.
Lovey-dovey sort of stuff. Yeah, so it was through that I got in touch with him, and I had some ideas of creating some concept artwork for it, and he came to me with a bunch of panels, and we sort of went back and forth, fleshing out almost to the point where we were going to storyboard this script. But he created this lovely artwork that sort of that I was going to throw at investors to get money on board to make this happen. And then I guess through a few twists and turns and events, I sort of lost a little bit of interest in that project, and things weren't working out. I was trying to get it up and running on a small budget and just couldn't get it going. And yeah, one day Nikita reached out and he says, if you ever need any other work done, let me know. And he's like, I do comic book stuff as well if you're into that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think of that. And he sort of planted the seed a little bit. And it was from there I said, oh, here's some like notes of a character I've got, and here's some photos of my dad and some sketches I've done. What do you think? What can be done with this? And he came back with some ideas, and then we sort of went ahead with that. And it took a long time to sort of go from go to woke, because I hadn't done it before, and he obviously was busy as well. So yeah, it was an interesting journey. Yeah. You guys would know that anyway. It takes time. So,
it's a different journey, but yeah.
It
took us several years to actually find an artist, because we didn't we didn't know how to look for one.
Okay, right.
We went through we went to Comic-Con a couple of times.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
We've been going for like the last 10 years or so, and they had a thing there called the Comic Creator Connection, where they take writers and they put you in it's like speed dating basically,
right?
And we went through like 3 of those, and then we did one at WonderCon, and we keep thinking we found somebody every time, and then they always disappeared, and so we ended up going through Facebook actually.
Yeah, right.
There's a way of doing that through there as well. So that's we got our first artist and our first colorist, and then we've moved on. We were lucky enough to land Rachel Wells, who's been doing it since issue 6.
Oh, nice, beautiful.
Yeah. So what you have 8 and 9, she did the artwork for.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, different journey.
Yeah, totally different journey. I guess there's always that end result, isn't it? But just getting started and getting there is just that hurdle a little bit. Yeah.
So you did you successfully kickstarted this.
I did. Yes.
So
I
I have
sort
a credit
of.
in the back.
You
So,
do. You guys. Yeah, you do. You're in the back. It's awesome. I thank you for your pledge.
oh, no
To
problem.
the Kickstarter campaign. Yeah, I recently kickstarted it. Gosh, I don't even know when I kickstarted. Do you know? Do you guys know when I did it?
Not off the top of my head. Sorry.
I think it was a few months ago. Gosh, sort of in the middle of the pandemic and so
Yeah.
forth. But um, I was a little bit reluctant to sort of kickstart this one. I was just gonna give this away as a free thing on my to get people to subscribe to my email list, but um, through a bunch of comic book community people, they sort of encouraged me to do so, and I set out with a modest goal of 800 Australian dollars, sort of just to do a small print run, and
Right.
I raised close to 3,000 Australian, so which
That's
was
pretty good.
and was received really really well, and yeah, all the rewards have just recently been sent out. So I think two of my UK backers finally got their comics in the mail about maybe 3 weeks ago. But I was really surprised with the US. Like the postage was really quick. Actually, I think it was only 2 weeks from what I remember. So yeah,
Which is that's kind of what it is now, just to send something across town. But
yeah.
that's a whole different story. So are you doing the fulfillment yourself, or?
I did. Yeah. That was I'd probably look at doing something differently next time. Yeah, I hooked up with a printer here in Australia called Doug Affleck. He's Comic Books on Demand here in Australia. He's got like a little niche of where he does a lot of the indie comics in Australia, prints them up. And he printed up. I ended up getting like I think 100 copies in total. And yeah, I sat up with my wife and we just wrote out envelopes and packaged them all up and took them to the post office the next day. So yeah, that's how we did that. That's
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't want to have like a stack of comic books at the house. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you use an online, like an on-demand service of some sort over
We
there?
actually use two different on-demand services. One is Kablam, which is out of Florida, and one is
I've heard of
Artismeric
that. Yeah.
out of the UK. And they
Oh,
do
okay.
they do T-shirts like this,
Yeah.
which you can
Awesome.
also buy. And
Cool.
we put out a sort of a trade paperback, but it's a hardback.
Yeah.
Through them as well, and they're pretty good as far as at least putting up stuff on Instagram and Twitter occasionally about your stuff, which is nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Is
they're trying to get distribution, and they were trying to work with Diamond to get distribution in stores and stuff over there.
Oh, beautiful.
So,
Wow, that would be an awesome step. Yeah.
yeah, it would be. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the goal.
That's the goal, the penultimate. Yeah. Oh well. With the UK company, would they have sent this to me from the UK? Is that how that would have?
They
Was
would
that
have.
Kablam?
I
Yeah.
think that came from Kablam. We went with
Kablam.
them because they were a little less expensive, but
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And then they would have theoretically we could have, which we didn't do. We could have signed a title page, and Kablam would have included that in the thing. And
Nice.
certain people got I forget what it was, stickers or something. They fulfilled those for us as well. So
oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I think moving forward, if I do another Kickstarter, I'll look at maybe getting them on board to fulfill the US component, because I think 36% of my sales on Kickstarter were actually in the US. So yeah.
Are you anywhere digitally?
Not at the moment. No, I'm still sort of exploring those avenues.
Okay.
Yeah, you can sign up to like my mailing list on my website and obviously get a copy that way.
Right.
That's an option. So.
You can also we also sell them on Comixology.
Yes.
Which is a little bit like disappearing into a dark hole, but we went digital first,
right?
And so they were there, and then they've actually been helpful. We found Rachel kind of through their help and things like that.
Okay, right.
But
do you get is there a lot of traction through Comixology and like places like that, or is it?
I think the big people do really well. I haven't gotten any money from them, and we're going to put out issue 10.
Yeah.
It's, I assume you have Netflix there. It's like having your
Yeah,
show on
we do.
Netflix, and they
Yeah.
don't say it's on Netflix, so nobody knows you're there. You're there,
Yeah.
but
You're right. You're there, but you're not. Yeah.
Power Squared is on page 12 of all the new things that came out that day. So
Right. Yeah. I guess it's a good platform though if someone does come across you, and then they can.
And you can also
they know.
You can also put it on Kindle through Amazon, which is
Amazon. Yeah.
which also owns Comixology. So
I know.
We're business with Amazon, they just don't know it.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
we're just trying to have as many different ways that somebody could find us if they choose to find us.
Yeah. No, I think that's great to sort of have like your sort of eggs in a lot of baskets and so forth, just to have a lot of.
The downside is you've got to everybody's got their own little specifications, so you have to make sure you hit those
Technical requirements and so forth. Yeah, that's true.
It's all part of it.
That's right. You persevere and reap the rewards in the long run. That's it.
So, are you already planning issue number 2?
I am actually. Yeah. I'm partway through writing it. The next issue is going to be called Angry Squad Viva Los Angry. So this is probably the weirdest thing you're going to probably hear from someone. I'm actually a big Elvis fan. When I was 12, it's such a bizarre thing. Like Elvis had died before I was, well, shortly after I was born, sort of thing. And I've just had this weird obsession with him, and it sort of calmed down a little bit as I got older. I've collected vinyl records and stickers and memorabilia and so forth, that sort of stuff. And I've just been intrigued by him as a phenomenon and how much he's sort of changed, I guess, pop culture, I guess, and music and so forth. But one of my favorite films of his is Viva Las Vegas. So I thought I'd take elements of that and try and sort of put it into this Angry Squad sort of universe. It's basically it's gonna be an interesting one. This one it's gonna sort of delve into more of Angry Fred's past and sort of bring that sort of into the future and show sort of a softer and more touching side of him as well. But at the same time have high octane adventure and a lot of fist fighting and explosions and stuff.
Was Elvis a race car driver in that one, or is that?
He was, and he sang at the same time.
Oh yeah,
while he was racing. While he's driving the car.
That's the beauty of Elvis; he could do it all.
But yeah.
And are you gonna have Anne Margaret type in there?
Well, yeah, one of the characters is sort of based on her, the character that she plays in that film. So very, very similar. So I guess you could say she's the love interest of Angry Fred from back in the day. She sort of comes back from the dead. And he has to sort of deal with certain things he's feeling at that point in time, being an old man and so forth. So yeah. But there'll be sort of an antagonist, Angry Fred's right hand man during the Vietnam War. He comes back from the dead as also, but he sort of comes back as an unhinged war veteran who's sort of unstoppable, and Angry Fred has to sort of take him on as well. So yeah.
Was your dad involved at all in the Vietnam War?
No, well,
I didn't know Australia was involved in that or not.
Yeah, Australia was. My dad was a little bit too old to be sort of drafted into that. So he, during the time of the Vietnam War, he volunteered as a cook in sort of the reserve forces here. Like they had what they called a country military force. So he was sort of lived in the country, and I think every 2 weeks they'd on weekends and then maybe a week here and there they'd have to go out and sort of just do, I don't know, maneuvers and train and stuff and do that sort of thing. Just to, Army reserves, do that sort of thing. So a lot of how my dad some of the stories my dad, experienced and some of the things I saw him go through, I'm sort of taking elements of that and putting it into, these stories that I'm creating for the comic books. So yeah.
Was he named Fred?
Yeah, he was. That was I guess that was his nickname. That's not his sort of official name. Like when
Okay.
he came out to Australia, he's German. When he came out to Australia in the 50s, his name was Gerd, so Gerd. But a lot of Australians with the Ocker slang and stuff would call him Gert. Really, really draw it out and like, "How you going, mate?" sort of thing. And his middle name was Wilfred, and he just had enough, and he sort of just called me Fred. So, so he was just known as Fred.
Now was
It
he?
was funny. Yeah, it was funny when his relations came out from Germany. They come to his town and they'd ask, is Gerd here? And they're like, who's Gerd? Like, anyway, sorry to
That's
interrupt.
fine. Was he angry, or is this just totally made up?
No, he was. I'm going to say he was a very passionate and strong-minded man, and in his views and opinions. But he was a very open individual, a very loving, generous, kind man at the same time. So, but no, he wasn't. He wasn't angry. So
You guys,
he was a very big guy though, like Angry Fred, very big, strong human. So.
oh, oh. And his fist got really big when he got mad. No.
I don't recall.
So we'll ask a few little Australian questions since
Yeah.
I don't know, whoever's watching may not know that much. So it's tomorrow there, Saturday, which is Halloween
Really?
here,
We're the
and
future,
Halloween
yeah.
Halloween is a big holiday in Australia, or not?
No, not really. Like when I was growing up as a kid, Halloween just was non-existent. It's probably only the last maybe 5 or 10 years that with the younger generation of families that are coming through that they sort of, I guess they buy into the whole marketing around it with the shops and stuff. Like you can go to the local supermarket now and like, it's all sort of Halloween themed and you can buy stuff off the shelf.
Yeah.
But driving around, like you'd see maybe a random house in the suburbs covered with spider webs and a spider, and then you may get like kids trick or treating randomly in some places, but it's not a big focus. Like there's obviously a lot of marketing, going around it, all around the place, but not like you guys, obviously, from the extent that
It
goes
used
on
to
over
be.
there.
I mean, I'll say when I was young, it was everybody did it, and now it's a little more hit and miss. And
Oh,
the
is it
people
really?
that are into it are really into it.
They're really into
Oh
it,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean they'll spend as much more decorating their house they probably spend on Christmas.
Is it like decorating outside the house and then inside the house as
Well,
well?
most
Does it
people
go
don't.
right through?
Most people don't. You do it at the door, so you don't
Okay,
necessarily get into the house. Some people do.
yeah,
Have bring people in, make them go through some little thing, but that's kind of rare. I think most people just kind of do it at the door, and
right,
they'll sometimes have we used to have, well, this year we're not doing anything because of COVID,
yeah.
but can they actually, they're not supposed to do it in LA County at all.
Oh, right, right.
Um, but we would have like four different, we each have a jack-o'-lantern, so there'd be four of them out there, and we
Yeah,
would hand out candy, and we'd have maybe a couple hundred kids sometimes.
yeah, right.
So
Wow,
can be
wow. Gee,
can be pretty
that's a
big.
lot of candy. Yeah,
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 but it's kind of fun. You can see all these little kids come up, and
yeah.
it's the
What
older
a,
kids on motorcycles that we had that one time. It's like whoa.
oh, wow.
We
Okay.
we actually
Okay.
moved in here years ago on Halloween.
Oh,
So
nice.
one of my favorite memories was I moving a mattress through the front door and somebody's coming up to try to get candy from me, and I'm like, I'm not really ready for this. Sorry.
What are
Next
they?
year.
Were they dressed up as Michael Myers with the
I was just like, think about who you're talking to. I'm moving a mattress.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I'd
Yeah.
love to go over there one day and experience it. If that,
And
it's a
you guys,
possibility.
we're into fall. You're into spring, right?
Yes. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I assume you still have to celebrate Christmas there.
We do. Yeah, Christmas is a thing here. It's obviously very hot and
Yeah.
sometimes wherever you are, dry Christmas.
Yeah.
So it's not the white Christmas that I've seen growing up as a kid watching TV and stuff. But
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like.
Well, actually, I don't either.
All right, true. You're in.
But most people, I mean, it's not necessarily white here or snowing anywhere necessarily at Christmas. I mean, there are places up north, northern
Yeah.
part of the country and back east, but not necessarily not everybody has a white Christmas, but
Yeah. I didn't
that
even
is
think about that. You just see that on, you just see it, and it's like, oh, wow. Yeah.
the Santa
Yeah.
would come up on a jet ski there, or
Well, yeah, there is where I live. There's some canals where people have houses and they've got boats. They do a boat parade where they have Santa at the front and they have all the lights, Christmas lights on the boats, and they travel through. And the kids sit there and
is there anything
grab.
about? I mean, is there anything different about your? I mean, our Santa myth is that he comes down the chimney and all that. What is there anything?
Yeah, growing up, it was the whole chimney thing, but it depends where you live. Like, I grew up down south in Australia, and it gets quite cold down there. So we did have like a wood combustion heater with a chimney. So I guess there was that. But if you live up here in Queensland, where I am now, it's further up north. It's basically hot all the time. Winter, it's not that hot. It's you can still get around in shorts and a sweater and stuff. But yeah, it's here. I guess Santa is just, I guess, for the kids and stuff. You sort of play on that, and mainly in Christmas, it's people out in the. mainly for Christmas, it's probably just out on the beach, playing cricket and barbecues, that sort of thing is what the norm.
There was a Kink song talking about surfing in Australia on Christmas Day, kind of a deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, theoretically, you can do that here. We just don't surf. But in California, you could do that, I guess.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, definitely.
And then you can drive up, and then there are some places we have. There does snow in LA County, but it's like up in the mountains.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes, or if it's wet at all,
Yeah.
We're dry a lot of the time too.
Yeah. What do you guys do for Christmas though? What's your thing like? Do you decorate the house or do you...
We my wife and I put up lights outside, and
nice.
we actually have two trees, a main one and then one in the front. That started out with Paul and his brother Trevor, who are the twins. They would decorate that tree, and I'm not sure what we're doing this year.
Yeah, I don't know
because of the pandemic and.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have trees and decorations, but we don't really go that crazy in the house.
You don't go crazy. You don't get blow up Santas and stuff like that.
No. But
nice.
It's trying to do something kind of fun.
Be festive, yeah. That's
now,
always
you guys
good.
have Boxing Day in Australia?
We do. Yeah, I always thought it was like, a day of boxing where like, two boxers will come out and fight in a ring, but it's not. Yeah. It's not.
It's a British thing from the servants. That was their day to celebrate Christmas.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I had done business had gone to England on business, and the office was asking people about Boxing Day, and they were like, it's people boxing. I go, no, this is your holiday.
Yeah, well, here, so Boxing Day, everyone has a day off. Here in Australia, having days off are the best thing in the world. That's what they live for. So public or observed holidays are the thing. Like everyone jumps at the chance to have that long weekend sort of thing. But there's always the Boxing Day cricket match, the cricket test that they have. That's like a big thing to sort of kick the cricket season off. They always
it's summer.
They always sort of have that with summer. Yeah, they coincide that. So that's a big thing as well. And then there's the Boxing Day sales where everything's cheap in the shops and everyone madly rushes to go get it. But I guess this year it'll be a little bit different online. Yeah. So, if that's the case.
So how bad? I mean, so we were talking before the show that COVID is really bad here.
Yes.
I assume you're an industrialized nation. You've actually taken some sort of care to not.
Yeah. So when the sort of the pandemic sort of hit here in Queensland, they took precautions of obviously every state in Australia locked their borders, so people from state to state couldn't come across.
Right.
And then through that, I guess it was similar to what you guys were experiencing. We couldn't sort of go out of the house. We had to. The only thing we had to go out the house for was like just food, or if you're going to work, if you're still working, or you're working from home.
Right.
There was that sort of thing. And then over time here in Queensland, that sort of got slowly lifted, and now we're out and about. We can do whatever, but we still obviously have to social distance, use hand sanitizer before we go into stores and so forth.
You have to wear a mask.
No, not in this state. No, it hasn't been sort of put in place. But in the other states, like Victoria, for instance, at the moment, they went through a long period of just locking down everything, wearing masks, and like having a curfew at night for people to adhere to and so forth. And it's only just, I think, over the last couple of days they've lifted that, and it's slowly becoming back to the norm down there, because their cases were quite high compared to the rest of the country. But they Australia made sort of a point of locking it off to anybody coming back, and quarantining anyone who came back into hotels for 14 days before they were let out to go go back home and so forth. So
didn't Tom Hanks bring
well, this is the thing with Mr. Hanks. He brought it to Australia. He was actually shooting the Elvis movie here with Baz Luhrmann down on Gold Coast. And then he left, and then he's back. He's back here now. They let him back in to complete the film. So he's apparently here at the moment. So, yeah.
Like an American import. It's kind of weird they're shooting an Elvis film in Australia.
I know, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah. I can't imagine scenes like would be replicated from Memphis, Tennessee, or anything like that. It's just like, I don't know.
I guess there was, the movie about Elton John that was him coming to L.A. and they shot all that in England. So
England, yeah. That's true. I guess these days with sound stages and green screens and digital technology, it's all it could be anywhere. Yeah.
So, do you have plans outside of a comic book for Angry Squad?
Ooh, my big main goal with Angry Fred and Angry Squad is obviously to make either a TV show or a movie one day. That sort of delves into that journey, maybe an animated series. I don't know. I'd really love to get back into film, and be a part of that and so forth. But, I think as any creator, I guess you're like that. I want to make T-shirts. I want to make coffee mugs. I want to make toys. I want to make, so many different books and spin-off series. But for now, it's just, let's focus on these guys and just see where we go.
Yeah. So, I'd like to have merchandise that would actually sell. And,
exactly, yeah.
I just don't want to have it in my, I have 100 cups,
Yeah. Well, I went and got this hat, and it cost me a mint, because it's just a one-off, I'm like, I want to make so much of this and that. And my wife's like, just settle down, one step at a time. That's the bigger picture. Yeah.
There are places where you can set up, have things that people could buy that they can just order on. They don't have to actually have
on demand
to fulfill them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like those redbubble.com sites, whatever, those sort of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So just as you can do that.
Yeah, true. There you go.
Do you have any questions for us about Power Squared?
Power Squared. So you guys, what issue up to? Are you up to issue 10? Is that right?
We'll put issue 10 out soon.
Yeah,
we actually submitted it to Comixology the other day. And we're working on issue 16 at the moment.
Oh, wow.
We're
nice.
Way out there.
Are you kickstarting these next issues like you did previously?
No, it's I pay for it.
Right.
And that's why we have sort of limitations on how much we do a month, so I can afford it. But we do about 8 pages a month with the artist doing stuff and the colorist doing things, and our letterer, which is Trevor, his brother. So everybody does 8 pages a month, and we just sort of keep going that way. So
what's your process with the family working on this? Is so who writes it? Like, do you guys get together and sort of like brainstorm the ideas, and then one takes it and writes it, and then you sort of manage the project from there on in? Sort of thing? Or?
Well, the three of us sort of came up with the idea years ago, and then we sort of, I think I usually do the writing, and then Paul will go through it and do his part,
editing.
And then we will then send it to the artist who will she does thumbnails for for 8 pages at a time, and she does 2 sets of
Nice.
thumbnails, and we'll go through those and go, okay, we like this from A and this from B, or this page and that page, and then she has to sort of put them all together, and then she'll send us pencils, and we'll look at those and make comments, and then she'll do inks, and then it will go to the colorist, and she actually will she actually Twitch streams her coloring a lot of times.
Oh, beautiful.
Which is nice. And and then once she's done, we have we have a Dropbox where we put stuff, and we have a Discord channel that we're all on. And then Trevor will do the lettering, and then we'll sit down and kind of look at everything, and then I'll have to sort of then make sure that it's the right size for Kablam, or the right Comixology doesn't like to have borders around your cover and things like that, so I have to move things around slightly, but it's not too bad usually.
I admire, I'm assuming that the twins in Power Squares are based off Paul and Trevor, you guys. Is that correct? Yeah, cool. I like that how it's sort of, you've got this direct inspiration from your life as well, which is pretty awesome. But David, are you in the comic, David? Are you?
No, I'm not.
I'm not Dr. Atlas or anything like that.
No. None of the characters are based on me, which is probably all for the best. We haven't. Their Uncle Brian character is based on somebody else, and we sort of made up we don't have a Dr. Atlas in our lives. Which is probably a good thing.
Probably a good thing, yeah.
So
that's exciting.
Yeah, so it was sort of fun. It was kind of fun to do something that we thought was a little different. Twins is sort of the central characters, and they have their own little dynamic. And then there's they both boys wanted to sort of include sort of a manga anime influence in there. That's why we have sort of yokai and things like that. So I think it's kind of a unique story.
I was looking through it again this morning, and I like the way that the twins talk to each other through telepathy, and the way you've lettered the boxes with the red and then the blue to differentiate the character. I thought that was really, really neat, and I'm a big fan of looking at lettering and seeing how the style changes per character and how they're feeling or who they are as a person and so forth. I really dig that.
Trevor came up with that, the red and blue.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, the boys are kind of colored that way, but he's decided that's how he was going to do the telepathy. And and this is our first comic book to write, and his first comic book to letter, and so it's all been kind of a learning experience. And we're trying to be less talky as we're going. We're trying to, the first issues are just pretty much just a book with some pictures. You don't know what you're doing,
Yeah, it's a learning curve and experience. Yeah, it was interesting when I was doing the Angry Squad. The letterer that I got on board, he helped me. There were some panels that I just didn't have any sort of word balloons or anything being communicated. And to me, in my head, it was like, oh, that makes sense. But then he was like, oh, he just pointed out a couple of things. He's like, well, you could put this here as a suggestion and that there. And I was like, oh, okay, that was good. It was good to have sort of someone else's sort of point of view to sort of understand that and, help me through that. But,
and I appreciate the fact that, if somebody's going to edit it down what we say, I'd rather it be like Trevor as opposed to somebody I don't know deciding it's too long, so I cut it down. So it's I hope it's fun. Are you having a good time with this? And we hope to have it. We'd like it to be an animated series or something like that too.
Awesome, that'd be wonderful.
It would be if we could just convince somebody to give us the money to do it.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Is David, your background? Are you like a screenwriter or something like that? Were you involved in film?
I went to the University of Texas and got a master's degree in screenwriting.
Right.
And came out to California to go to USC, but in critical studies, which is nothing to
Okay.
do with production. And
Yeah.
I was not really enamored with. I like the history of films a lot, but all the
Mm.
trying to think of film as all these sort of hidden messages and how to read them and all that. I never really understood
Yeah.
or cared about.
Yeah.
So I did not get a doctorate, but I did go through the doctoral program.
Oh,
And
nice.
and then I've worked for a while in the financial industry for some reason, and then
Oh,
I've been
okay.
working the last couple decades in at for MGM and Sony Pictures, and I'm now at Lionsgate,
Okay.
but I'm
Right.
in the rights management side of things.
Rights management side.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this
Oh,
is a nice
wow.
outlet for me.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Cool.
Paul also has a blog that we all write for,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Trophy Unlocked. You want to give a plug?
Sure. uh, yeah, I've been doing a blog for about coming up on a decade.
Yeah.
Where we were Trophy Unlocked. We review movies and video games, and it doesn't
Nice.
really matter when it came out.
Mhm.
So trophyunlocked.blogspot.com.
Cool.
And we have 1,100. We just passed 1,100 reviews on there, so
Oh, wow. Exciting. I'll have to check that out. I'll
Yeah.
definitely check it out. Yeah,
you'll have
sure.
to. There'll be a link in the video on YouTube.
In the video? Right. There we go. I'll be, I'll be on it straight away.
If somebody wanted to find you, how would they find
Yes.
you?
Okay, so the best way to find me and Angry Squad and Angry Fred is to go to angryfredcomics.com, and on there you'll see a big blue button that says buy. You can buy the book, and you can go into Indiegogo on demand. It will take you to Indiegogo on demand, and you can buy a digital copy there, and you can buy a physical copy there as well.
Okay.
So that's the best way to do it, and you can sign up to my email list. I try to do a weekly sort of email. It's not very markety. It's more a personal sort of email that I write, sort of my journey and where I'm at and where I'm sort of looking to go. So yeah,
Right.
that's where.
Yeah,
Where you can
we do a
yeah.
newsletter too, and I do a blog about writing. So
Oh, cool,
my little
beautiful.
adventure weekly. I have to sit down and
Yeah.
what did I do this week? What did I not?
Do you find it hard to write stuff? Like, is it too like, what does it just flow, or depending on your time and mood, or?
Well, I think it kind of. I mean, I haven't had so much writer's block as just being tired sometimes, but
Yeah. Right.
no, I write. I'm trying to write crime fiction as well.
Wow.
So I started the query process on a book. I'm so proud of myself for actually starting that. But yeah, it's just trying to. It's a nice outlet to have. Do something creative. So it's nice. The comic book sort of kind of comes up comes up pretty much all the time because there's something to look at usually or something to do or and I manage the website and things like that. So there's always something to do with that, but it's nice to have sort of outlets. And you're writing stuff as well?
Yes. Writing. I was working on an issue of Power Squared, where I would be the one writing it. And then I'm also working on a novel, and I was also trying to work on stuff for TV animation so that I could try to break in as a freelance writer.
He
Nice.
took the writing program at UCLA.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
Wow.
so that was
Cool.
he got exposed to a lot of different things, and I like to brag on him that he can write another people's voice. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Wow.
Really
That's amazing.
He's been told that by actually professionals, not just me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
So I think he's got a good shot at it.
wow.
So-
Yeah, definitely follow that through. Don't give up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's the novel that you're writing can you talk about that, or like is
Yeah, you want to talk about yours?
Sure. I don't have a name for it yet because titles are hard to come up with. I guess I need to work on my elevator pitch. But I guess the core of it is it's scientists who falls in love with a video game character.
Nice. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we're a creative bunch here.
Yeah, no, I
Trevor
like.
does his own comic book too, by the way. So
Oh wow,
plug,
gosh.
so,
Yeah. Yeah, I like hearing about creative families and so forth. It's good to have that bond, especially between father and sons and that sort of thing. Like when I was growing up, my dad he was very much into Super 8 filmmaking, and he made a lot of movies back in the day, in the 70s and 80s. And he was a lover of movies as well, so we sort of shared that little bond. And anytime I was making a film, he was out, either in it or he was, filming it, or he was like making, sets and models and stuff like that. So yeah,
sounds
it's
like
good
a cool
to.
guy.
Yeah, he was cool. He was a cool guy. Miss him a bunch, but I'm trying to keep him alive through this comic book. So.
Immortality somewhere. I always figure something is published, you've done something,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna probably let you go here. If that's okay.
Yeah, I'll get back to the future here in Australia.
That's right. I know. What's tomorrow?
I think it's fine here just to know.
Tell us what the future's like. We'll call you on Tuesday morning. You can tell us who
Yes, please. Oh dear.
Well, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it.
No, thank you guys for having me on and stuff. I really appreciate it as well. Yeah.
If you're watching this on YouTube, if you liked this conversation, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell if you want to see exactly when these videos go up.
So until next week, I'm David Hankins.
I'm Paul Hankins.
And this has been On the Air with Power Squared.